Hello, my average sports guys. My name is Carlo Pessina, and I am the host of the Average Sports Guy channel. Today's video is a doozy. I am breaking down who the greatest football player of all time is. I asked ChatGPT this question. I asked them to create a 64 person tournament, and they came up with something pretty cool. Now, don't hate on me these rankings. Okay, I did not make these rankings. These are AI generated, but this is going to be an awesome tournament filled with some ghosts. So before we get started, I ask you the question: who is the greatest football player of all time? Make sure that you leave a comment below. So before further ado, let's get into the video. All right. So first matchup here, we got Tom Brady and Jack Ham. Now, obviously, Jack Ham, great linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's not overthink it. I'm going Tom Brady. Rod Woodson and John Elway. Rod Woodson was better at his position than John Elway was at his position. John Elway's arguably a top 10 quarterback ever, not in my top 10. Rod Woodson is like the second best defensive back ever. So yeah, he's advancing. Dan Marino and Junior Seau. Again, kind of that same argument. Are you better at your position than your peer? Junior Seau was a tremendous middle linebacker, but Dan Marino is a top 5 quarterback in my opinion. I got Brady, Manning, Montana, and then I got Marino. I got Marino at 4, Junior Seau amongst middle linebackers. Not ahead of Lewis, not ahead of Buckets, not ahead of Lambert, not ahead of Singletary. So those are definitely 4 ahead of him. Probably at 5, we'll see, but Marino moves on. Emmitt Smith and Revis. Now I'm biased. I'm a New York Jets fan. I got it. And I know he had some phenomenal seasons. Arguably his 2009 season is the best season for a cornerback of all time. But I'm going to Emmitt Smith. Leading rusher. Look at his stats. He had some monster seasons. I got to go with Emmitt. Reggie White and Orlando Pace. Reggie White's going to go extremely far in this tournament. Don't be surprised if he doesn't win. Or don't be surprised if he wins. He was probably the best pass rusher ever. Him and Lawrence Taylor. Like, Lawrence Taylor changed the game. He's another guy that's going to go extremely far in this. But Reggie White, man, had the sack record in 12 games. Like, come on. Orlando Pace was a phenomenal offensive lineman too, but I got to go Reggie White. Bruce Smith and Eric Dickerson. Bruce Smith, all-time sack leader. Tremendous player. I feel like he's still underrated because maybe his peak wasn't as high as Aaron Donald or Reggie White or one of those guys. Eric Dickerson, his peak was tremendous. His first 4 years in the league. I mean, those are some of the best years for running back ever. But I'm going Bruce Smith. Johnny Unitas and Jonathan Ogden here. Jonathan Ogden, I believe, was a first-round pick for the Ravens, and I mean, an anchor on the offensive line. One of the main reasons why Jamal Lewis ran for 2,000 yards, almost broke the rushing record in 2003. But Johnny Unitas, I mean, when he retired, he was the greatest quarterback ever at his retirement. He moves on. Anthony Munoz and Tony Gonzalez. I remember Anthony Munoz in NFL Street 2 and being just absolute monster on the offensive line, pancaking everybody. But he did that in real life too. But Tony Gonzalez, I mean, come on, man. Over 15,000 receiving yards, over 1,300 catches. Greatest offensive tight end ever. I'm going to Tony G. I just talked and said Lawrence Taylor was gonna go very deep in this tournament, and I'm not gonna have him lose to Roger Staubach. Roger Staubach, you had a great career. You were awesome. Lawrence Taylor moves on. Randy Moss and Marvin Harrison. So this is just a question of who would I rank higher amongst receivers, because we're going a top 3 receiver all time in Randy Moss and a top 6, 7 wide receiver Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison was great, so consistent, but Randy Moss is the greatest deep threat ever and changed the way that the wide receiver position was played and changed the way the defenses attacked him. Dick Butkus and J.J. Watt. This is a hard one. Many people say Dick Butkus is the best linebacker of all time. I say Ray Lewis is, in my opinion. Personal bias because I watched Ray Lewis play for my entire childhood of watching football. Dick Butkus was amazing. If I asked my grandpa, he would say Dick Butkus. But I also watched prime J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt was a tremendous defensive lineman. He could play anywhere, took over games for that Texans defense. I'm going J.J. Watt. Brett Favre and Ed Reed. Brett Favre is a top 10 quarterback ever. But Ed Reed is the best safety of all time, in my opinion. I mean, even that is up for debate, right? You got Ronnie Lott, you got Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, Brian Dawkins, John Lynch. You got so many guys. But Ed Reed was a ball hawk, man. He was so smart. Ed Reed moves on. Joe Montana and Curtis Martin. Like I said earlier, I'm a big New York Jets fan. I love Curtis Martin. He's probably the Jets' best offensive player in their history. But Joe Montana, I mean, 4-0, 4-0 in Super Bowls. I don't even think he threw an interception in the Super Bowl, which is unheard of. Joe Montana moves on. Gronk and Larry Fitzgerald. So higher peak, Gronk. Even though peak Fitzgerald, we saw in the 2008 playoffs, he was unstoppable. 7 touchdowns in the postseason is insane. Uh, Gronk didn't do it long enough though. They see that's the thing that holds me back about Gronk. Like it's hard for me to say he's like better than Tony Gonzalez because he only played like 5 or 6 healthy seasons. Like obviously at his peak, yeah, we all watched Gronk play and knew he was great, but you can't play that many years and be like one of the goats. I'm sorry, Larry Fitzgerald over 17,000 receiving yards, and did it with guys like Drew Stanton and like John Skelton. I mean, come on, man. I'm going Larry Fitzgerald. Ronnie Lott and Aaron Donald. How is Aaron Donald so low? 53 in this seating here? I can't name 52 players better than Aaron Donald. I'm sorry. Ronnie Lott, 12th. I can see that. That's great. Many people would say he's the best free safety of all time. I would say Aaron Donald is a top 3 defensive player of all time. I'm going Aaron Donald. Drew Brees and Jack Lambert. Jack Lambert, tremendous linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was tremendous in coverage. He was very good against the run. But look at Drew Brees' statistics, man. And don't say, oh, he played in a dome. What's the difference between playing in a dome and playing in a warm weather environment, like playing for the Dolphins or the Bucks or one of those teams? I'm going Drew Brees here. Jerry Rice and Earl Campbell. I mean, come on. Jerry Rice. He's going to go extremely far. Don't be surprised if Jerry Rice doesn't win this whole thing. Jerry Rice. Mike Singletary and Fran Tarkenton. You know when Fran Tarkenton retired, he had a lot of the quarterback records. But Mike Singletary, man, I don't think anybody would say Fran Tarkenton right now is a top 10 quarterback ever. Many people would still say Mike Singletary is a top 5 middle linebacker ever, like 4-5 kind of range. I'm going Mike Singletary. Calvin Johnson and Derek Brooks. See, Derek Brooks was phenomenal. I love watching him play on that Bucks defense. Calvin Johnson had some tremendous seasons. He was a freaking beast, man. It sucks that he retired so early because it would have been great to see just what if total stats would have been. I believe he had over like 11,000 yards and played, 8 years or something like that? Like, Calvin Johnson was awesome. I'm going Calvin Johnson. Aaron Rodgers and Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson was awesome. Awesome. Great corner for the Raiders and Packers. Played some free safety as well. He was always good. Aaron Rodgers, though, one of the highest peaks for any quarterback ever. Like his 2011 season, fantastic. 2020 season, fantastic. 2021, fantastic. I just feel like he has a bad taste in people's mouths ever since he went to the Jets and stuff. So people just look at his last few years and be like, oh, like he's washed and wasn't that good. But look at Aaron Rodgers' stats again. The most efficient quarterback ever, and him in his prime, he was one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Peyton Manning and Kellen Winslow. I'm not going to overthink this. Kellen Winslow, great. Tremendous numbers for a tight end back in the 80s. Like, look at his stats. He had I think he had a 3-year stretch where he had 88 catches, then 89, and then 88 again. He maybe had a 90-catch season in there. I don't remember off the top of my head. But I'm going Peyton Manning, the best regular season quarterback of all time. Why do they say Tomlinson and then LaDainian in parentheses? That's a little weird. Him and Adrian Peterson. This is hard. Peterson is the better pure runner. Tomlinson is the better all-around running back. His receiving game is he's one of the best receiving backs of all time. Barry Sanders and Willie Roaf. You know why Priest Holmes and Larry Johnson had fantastic years for the Chiefs in the 2000s? Is because they ran behind Willie Roaf and Will Shields. That's why. Willie Roaf was fantastic, but we're going against Barry Sanders here. I mean, come on. Like over 15,000 yards in 10, 11 years. If the guy would play as long as Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders would have had over 20,000 yards. I'm going Barry Sanders. Gale Sayers and Tony Dorsett. Many people who watch Gale Sayers play say he's one of the best running backs of all time. He was so talented. He was a man amongst boys back then. But again, kind of like Gronk, like you can't just do it for 5 years and then expect me to choose you over the guy who's done it for his entire career. And Tony Dorsett had a great career for the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm going toward Tony Dorsett. Jim Brown, Troy Aikman. This is the easiest one so far. Troy Aikman should not even be on this list. I'm sorry, no way. Jim Brown it is, and it's not even a discussion. Terrell Owens and Steve Young. I love Steve Young. Probably, like I'm thinking about quarterbacks all the time who I'd pick over him. I'd pick Brady, Manning, Montana, Marino. That's 4. Rodgers and Breeze, 5 and 6. So 7. Steve Young is my 7th quarterback ever. But Terrell Owens is my 2nd wide receiver ever. I believe he's better all around than Randy Moss. Better at blocking for sure. Route running, I believe he was a better route runner. Randy Moss maybe put more fear in the defense. But I think Terrell Owens is one of the most polished wide receivers ever. He moves on. Ray Lewis and Michael Strahan, man. Ray Lewis is the best middle linebacker ever. Again, I'm biased because I watched him play my whole life. Michael Strahan was a great defensive end, but I've seen a lot of really good pass rushers, and I wouldn't say Michael Strahan is amongst one of like the top 3 best or whatever. Ray Lewis is the best middle linebacker ever. So he moves on. Mahomes and Brian Dawkins. I love watching Brian Dawkins, man. He used to just take people out. He was great in the run, fantastic tackler. But what Mahomes has done, though, to start his career has been pretty remarkable. I think he's a little overrated. Like when people say, oh, like he's going to be the GOAT. Like, let's do it for more than 8 years, buddy. Walter Payton and Marcus Allen. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Marcus Allen was great. Fabulous running back. But come on. We're talking about a top 3 running back ever. Walter Payton moves on. Shannon Sharpe and Chris Carter. Ooh, this is a hard one. Shannon Sharpe, when he retired, was arguably the best tight end ever and changed the way that the position was played from an offensive standpoint. Chris Carter, 130 touchdowns over 13,000 yards. Like, man, what a beast. But Shannon Sharpe amongst his peers is one of the best ever. So I'm going Shannon Sharpe here. Deion Sanders and Bob Lilly. Bob Lilly, great defensive tackle, but Deion was a playmaker. Going Deion, Mean Green, and Alan Page. Alan Page is a great defensive tackle. Led some of those Vikings defenses, but Mean Green was the leader of the Steel Curtain, one of the best defenses of all time. 4-time Super Bowl champion. Go Mean Green. So that wraps up round 1. All right, guys. So if you made it this far in the video, make sure that you leave a like and make sure that you subscribe to the channel. I will be posting more sports content on this page, and get ready because we got some pretty exciting stuff in the near future. And now let's get back to the video and into round 2. So we got Tom Brady and Rod Woodson. Again, I talked about just how versatile Rod Woodson was and great, but I mean, come on, we're talking about arguably the GOAT quarterback ever. I know, like I don't definitively say it's Brady because I'm not going to disrespect a lot of the other greats like the Mannings and the Marinos and the Montanas. Like, those guys are also phenomenal too. Like, if someone says they're one of the best, I'm not going to like hate on them and say, oh, you're crazy and stuff like that. No, those guys were fantastic as well. But Brady's moving on. I mean, love Rod Woodson, but nope. Marino and Emmitt Smith. They're kind of like the same ranking amongst their positions, right? Like, I don't think anybody would pick Emmitt Smith over Jim Brown or Walter Payton or Barry Sanders. And I don't think many people would pick Marino over Montana, Manning, or Brady. But I'm going Dan Marino here. Him at his peak, man. 48 touchdowns in 1984. Like, and I think the second place person had like 32. Like, Marino was well ahead of his time. Reggie White and Bruce Smith. I know Bruce Smith has more career sacks, but Reggie White dominated the game. Not saying Bruce Smith didn't, but Reggie White was a freaking game changer, a playmaker. He wreaked havoc on opposing defenses. I'm going Reggie White. Johnny Unitas and Tony Gonzalez. Unitas, one of the best quarterbacks ever. Gonzalez, in my opinion, the best tight end ever. First of all, 41's way too low. Are you kidding me? I can't name 40 players better than Tony Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez, moving on. Lawrence Taylor, Randy Moss. This is a close one. Oh, man. But I'm going to the guy who changed the way the game is played. I know both kind of did, but more of an impact. Lawrence Taylor. What he did from the outside linebacker position, as in like making it an edge rusher position, is just insane. J.J. Watt and Ed Reed. I think J.J. Watt had the higher peak. I think Ed Reed had the better career. Um, I think he's the best safety of all time. I wouldn't say Watt's the best defensive lineman of all time. There's a couple guys I would pick over him. I'm going Ed Reed here. Joe Montana and Larry Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald, beast, right? 17,000 yards in his career. Did it with a lot of back quarterbacks. It's hard for me to go against a guy like Joe Montana, who's 4-0 in Super Bowls. And I don't believe threw an interception in the Super Bowl, which is nuts. Joe Montana's moving on. Aaron Donald and Drew Brees. I was talking about how much I love Drew Brees. He's fantastic. But Aaron Donald's like a top 3 or 4 defensive player of all time, in my opinion. And I wouldn't put Drew Brees there amongst quarterbacks. He's like number 6 for me. I still think he's fantastic and great. I think Aaron Donald's better at his position than Drew Brees is at his. Jerry Rice and Mike Singletary. I'm not going to overthink this. Again, we're talking about arguably the go-to-goats. Jerry Rice is going to make it extremely far in this. He's moving on over Michael Singletary. Mike Singletary, you're great. Jerry Rice moving on. Calvin Johnson and Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers had a longer career, and peaks, they're about the same. Calvin Johnson, man, was just an absolute monster. I'm going Aaron Rodgers though. Yeah, just on the quarterback position, just when it's like this close like this, yeah, I'm going with Aaron Rodgers here. If Johnson played a few more years, like 2-3 more years, I probably would have said him. Peyton Manning and LaDainian Tomlinson. Whew. Man, Tomlinson was such a touchdown machine. I believe he had like a 5-year stretch where he had over 100 touchdowns. But prime Peyton Manning was insane, right? Most MVPs ever with 5. Most first-team All-Pros for a quarterback, I think, with 7. And he did that while Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, those guys were around. That's freaking impressive. Peyton Manning is moving on. Whoops, lost my little place there. Barry Sanders and Tony Dorsett. Not going to overthink it. Tony Dorsett was great, but he at no point in his career was ever as good as Barry Sanders was. Jim Brown and Terrell Owens. Ooh, I'm going Jim Brown. I believe he's one of the most dominant football players of all time. Played 9 seasons and led the league in rushing 8 times. He won 3 MVPs and finished in the top 3, I think 3 other times. Like, insane. I'm going Jim Brown. Ray Lewis and Patrick Mahomes. This is where Mahomes' reign ends. Mahomes is great. I realize what he's done so far in his career, but he's got to do it a little bit longer to beat a guy like Ray Lewis who did it like 15 years or so. Like, Ray Lewis was just phenomenal. I'm going Ray Lewis. Walter Payton, Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp, fantastic. Fantastic tight end. Top 5 all time, in my opinion. I'd go Gonzalez, Gronk, Kelsey, and then probably him or Gates. Like, they're kind of interchangeable for me. But Walter Payton is just, he was absolutely phenomenal. There's nothing Walter Payton couldn't do on a football field. And it's 1A, 1B, 1C between him, Brown, and Barry Sanders. Walter Payton's moving on. Deion and Mean Joe Green. Man. Mean Joe Green was a beast in the middle of that Steelers defense, but I'm going Deion Sanders. Just not saying he had a bigger impact than Mean Joe Green, but he had a huge impact on the Cowboys and on the 49ers. Getting to those Super Bowls and going Deion Sanders. Now we're going to get into the Sweet 16. Tom Brady and Dan Marino. This is like 2 polar opposite careers, right? The ultimate winner and the guy who just couldn't get it done. I'm not holding that against Dan Marino, but I don't even think his stats match up with Brady. So even in that aspect, I can't pick Marino over Brady. So Brady's moving on. Reggie White and Tony Gonzalez. Gonzalez, fantastic tight end. But Reggie White, in my opinion, is arguably the best defensive player ever. There's one other guy, I don't want to spoil it, but there's one other guy that I think is maybe a little bit better than him. But Reggie White is moving on. Lawrence Taylor and Ed Reed. These are 2 all-time greats. Ed Reed, the best safety ever. Lawrence Taylor, arguably the best pass rusher of all time. Reinvented the way that an edge rusher played the position or an outside linebacker played the position. So I'm going Lawrence Taylor here. Many people would say he's the best football player that they've ever seen. Joe Montana and Aaron Donald. I love the guys that take over games. I'm a little biased towards those defensive linemen because man, if you can get to the quarterback, like you dictate a game. I'm saying Joe Montana can't because he used to nickel and dime defenses all day. But I'm going Aaron Donald here. 3 defensive players of the year. Yeah, I'm going Aaron Donald. Jerry Rice and Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers, fantastic. One of the best quarterbacks ever. But Jerry Rice is the best receiver ever, and it's not even a debate. Jerry Rice is moving on again, going to the Elite 8. Peyton Manning and Barry Sanders. These guys are like the same rankings for their position. Whew. Amongst most, they're number 2 or 3. But I'm going with Peyton. I just did it a little bit longer and coming back from those 4 neck surgeries, having the his first 3 seasons like he did in Denver were insane. Almost won the MVP, finished second to Adrian Peterson, then won the MVP and set the all-time passing yards record and passing touchdowns record. The next year threw 39 touchdowns and looked like he was going to throw 50 again. But then that's kind of when he fell off that peak. But Peyton Manning is just insane. I'm going Peyton Manning. Jim Brown and Ray Lewis. Again, Ray is great. But Jim Brown and Jerry Rice are like the 2 most dominant offensive players ever. So Jim Brown's moving on. Walter Payton and Deion Sanders. This is really tough. But I'm just thinking about like all-time rankings. I'll have Walter Payton ahead of Deion Sanders. He did it longer, and he was a phenomenal football player on a bad Bears team. Like they were not very good on offense at all. And so just imagine if they even had a competent offense, right? Walter Payton could have been even better. He's moving on. Now we're going to scroll down because we're going to get to the Elite 8. This is where it gets tough. Tom Brady, Reggie White. Oh my gosh. Best quarterback against arguably the best defensive player ever. I'm going Reggie White here. I know it's a shocker. Most people would say Brady's number 1 to them, but just a bad luck of the draw against Reggie White. Reggie White took over games. He's a phenomenal defensive player. I'm a little impartial towards those, towards great pass rushers because they dictate a game. Not saying Brady doesn't, but Reggie White was a monster. I'm going Reggie White. Now we got, sorry, I got a little itch here. I was holding that in for a while. I just could not let it go. Lawrence Taylor and Aaron Donald. Woo! One of these players is going to face Reggie White in the Final Four. This is crazy. These are my 3 best defensive players ever. Reggie White, Lawrence Taylor, and Aaron Donald. I'm going Lawrence Taylor. I just think he impacted the NFL more. Many people would say Aaron Donald, though, and I cannot really disagree with you. I can't argue you. He's fantastic. Jerry Rice, Peyton Manning. Love Peyton Manning. He's my favorite player ever, my favorite quarterback ever, but I would never say he's better than Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice, I believe Randy Moss is second all-time in receiving yards. No, he's like 3rd. But many people would rank Randy Moss as the 2nd best wide receiver ever. That's what I meant to say. And he's got like 6,000 to 7,000 receiving yards less than Jerry Rice, which is insane. Jerry Rice at age 40 had over 1,200 yards for the Oakland Raiders. The guy was an absolute beast. I'm going Jerry Rice. Jim Brown, Walter Payton. Man, this is 1A, 1B for my best running backs ever. But I'm looking at the most dominant running back ever, and that's Jim Brown. Just look at his stats. Like I said earlier, led the league in rushing 8 out of 9 years when he played, and he just like got bored of the NFL. Yeah, he was a freaking nature. Final 4 now. Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor and Jerry Rice and Jim Brown. Before we get into this, I'm going to have you guys pick your championship. So choose. So comment below who wins between Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor and who wins between Jerry Rice and Jim Brown. Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor are my 2 best defensive players ever. And Jerry Rice and Jim Brown are my 2 best offensive players ever. I'm going Lawrence Taylor. I believe it has made a bigger impact on the NFL and changed the way that the outside linebacker plays the game. And I'm going Jerry Rice. He was Jim Brown at the wide receiver position for his entire career. Like, think about that. Like, the guy had what, like 11 or 12 years of 1,000 yards. Like, do you know how insane that is? And you got to keep your body in tip-toe shape. I believe I saw a stat where he had more receiving yards from age 30 on than Julio Jones did his entire career. Like, that's just insane. So Jerry Rice is in the finals against Lawrence Taylor. So who do I go against? So or so who do I go for? Do I go for the best defensive player ever and the guy who changed the way that the game is played, or the best wide receiver ever who has every record in the books? I'm going for the more dominant player, the guy who is the goat of goats and the most dominant at his position in NFL history and the greatest football player of all time is Jerry Rice. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into this video. Comment below with who is the better all-time football player, Jerry Rice or Lawrence Taylor. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more sports content. Peace.